The rank of special grade is not just handed down to any Jujutsu sorcerer. Sorcerers are expected to attain a level of skill and strength to be offered that rank, and in Jujutsu Kaisen there are quite a few sorcerers who have shown the level of strength that matches that of a special grade but haven't even been granted that status. And so let's look at every potential special grade sorcerer in Jujutsu Kaisen. Before the exchange event began, Gojo had a conversation with the principal of Tokyo Jujutsu High. Amongst the many things Gojo said, he didn't fail to mention the fact that Aoi Todo, amongst other students, have the potential to become special grade and even surpass him, and so that's why Todo will be considered for this list. However, unlike the other sorcerers, Todo hasn't really reached the heights of a special grade in terms of strength, but he could have if he hadn't lost his technique. After all, he was already that strong, and if his power had continued to grow, then I have no doubts that if he actually continued to level up, he could have reached the rank of special grade. I mean, even the series emphasizes the fact that Todo was able to beat multiple grade 1 level curse spirits without the activation of his curse technique, and when he decided to use his curse technique, he was able to beat a special grade. All this occurred 1 year even before the events of season 1 began. Throughout Jujutsu Kaisen, we've seen Todo handle his own against 2 special grade curse spirits, one being Hanami in the exchange event. I think most people would agree that Todo was the one carrying the fight, and Yuji more so assisted. Todo will later go on to aid Yuji against Maito in the Shibuya incident arc. It's from this point on that Todo's future becomes uncertain, because after Maito pulls out his domain expansion, a new transfiguration takes effect on Todo's hand, and in order for Todo to minimize the damages, he decides to disconnect the affected hand from the rest of his body. And ever since this fight in Shibuya, we haven't seen Todo till date. Because of this fact, it's unclear whether Todo will continue en route to become a special grade sorcerer. However, the next character we are going to be talking about was already stated to be ready for promotion to special grade if certain conditions were met, and that would be Principal Yaga from Tokyo Jujutsu High. In the Shibuya incident arc, the higher ups have a discussion about the creation of multiple cursed corpses on the level of Panda. They tell the principal that if he's able to make multiple variants of cursed corpses on the level of Panda, then he would be ready for promotion to special grade. As a sorcerer, commanding an army of pandas would be very powerful. However, unfortunate, Yaga never got to attain the rank because of his early demise. But to know how strong he could have been as a special grade, we have to analyze the strength of Panda. Panda is a cursed corpse with 3 cores. His primary core resembles that of a panda, his brother's core resembles that of a gorilla, and that of his sister resembles that of a rhino. Panda is a physical fighter, and he's able to contend with the likes of Mechamaru, who at the time was ranked as a semi-grade 1. Upon transformation, his strength alongside other stats increased dramatically, and so I think it's safe to say that if Yaga had multiple pandas under his belt, he'd be able to qualify as a special grade, as his cursed corpses will be very similar to Geto's cursed manipulation, but rather than using cursed spirits, he'll be using cursed puppets. The next character up for the evaluation would be Hakari. Hakari Kinji is a 3rd year student at Tokyo Jujutsu High School. We finally got to see Hakari fight in the Calling Games arc of the series, and among the few fights he had, we were fortunate to see him face a formidable opponent in Kashimo. Hakari is a very similar fighter to Todo, in the sense that his fighting style revolves around hand-to-hand combat, where Todo has his curse technique Boogie Woogie that allows him to teleport and swap positions of objects and other sorcerers. Hakari has a domain expansion, Ideal Death Gamble. When Hakari pops out his domain, he plays a game, and if he wins, he's said to have hit a jackpot. After hitting a jackpot, Hakari is granted an unlimited amount of cost energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, and this insane amount of cost energy would then go on to multiply to form reverse cost energy. Reverse cost energy being what allows sorcerers to regenerate, and if he runs out of jackpot, Hakari has the option to expand his domain once again. The reason myself and a lot of others consider Hakari to be a potential special grade sorcerer would be because of the fact that Yuta states that Hakari on a roll is stronger than he is. This leads us to imply that Yuta is saying Jackpot Hakari is stronger than he is, and though the statement is vague, some people claim Yuta is not referring to him at full power with Rika present. However you view that statement, Hakari has his fight with Kashimo, one that sets a nice bar on how strong he probably is. I mentioned Mechamaru previously, so let's get to him. Mechamaru is a character with a heavenly restriction, one that blesses him with an insane amount of cost energy in exchange for his body. Because of the fact that his body is basically disabled, Kokichi Muta uses a cost puppet in combat. This puppet of course being Mechamaru, and in his Mechamaru form, he was already granted the rank of a semi-grade 1. However, this is not the version of Mechamaru that we are considering as a potential special grade. You see, Mechamaru gets his body fixed by Mahito using ideal transfiguration. But what happens after this is where things get interesting. You see, this version of Mechamaru has multiple Mechamaru clones under his belt. Besides this, he also has one giant Mechamaru clone which he dubbed Ultimate Mechamaru. But it doesn't just end there, as Mechamaru has basically been accumulating all the cost energy he has had his whole life. This made his cost energy output honestly insane. Using his Ultra Cannon, he's able to shoot blasts worth multiple years of cost energy. This being something that Kenjaku picked up, as Kenjaku himself stated that even though it's just temporary, the amount of cost energy Mechamaru is releasing is on the level of that of a special grade. One of these Mechamaru's attack was even so powerful that it was able to damage a part of Mahito's soul. Kokichi would later go on to use Simple Domain, a technique he's able to use not because he trained for it but because he had seen it previously. So can you imagine all the techniques he would have been able to pick up if he had not died when he did? I mean, with that amount of cost energy, he could have actually become special grade if not for his early demise. The final sorcerer we are putting to the test will be Maki Zenin. After Mai takes away all of Maki's cost energy, a new being is born, a warrior equal to that of Toji Zenin. This newly awakened Maki is able to wipe out her entire clan. Mind you, her clan consisted of multiple semi-grade 1s and a few notable grade 1 sorcerers. After Maki is done with the clan, she would go on to surpass her limits multiple times. And since Maki was compared to Toji, then let's compare her to Toji. We know that Toji was able to take out both Teen Gojo and Teen Geto, both of them who at the time seemed to be very competent grade 1 sorcerers. But honestly, I don't see any grade 1 sorcerer fighting Toji and coming out on top. So then you are probably wondering, why wasn't Toji named special grade? Well, the Jujutsu rating system does not consider Toji's form of heavenly restriction, as he does not have cost energy, making him not qualified to be called a Jujutsu sorcerer. And that's why even till now, Maki has not yet been given the rank of special grade. Maki would later still go on to face Sukuna, and Sukuna acknowledges her strength. Sukuna, being the man he is, doesn't give praise when it is not due. And so if the Jujutsu system was ever to get changed, then I have no doubt in my mind that Maki would eventually become a special grade sorcerer. Even Kenjaku implies that Maki is one of the top tiers, as when he calls out the heavy hitters from the Jujutsu Society, he makes note of Maki alongside Yuta and Hakari. So for one or more reasons, I think Principal Yaga, Mechamaru, Maki, Hakari and Todo could have become special grade. And since some of these characters are still active in the story, we might just get to see one of them acknowledged as a special grade, but who knows. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, then please feel free to leave a like. If you have something to say, then you can put it in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, then feel free to subscribe.